All right, let's go. Yeah. Okay, we have a very, 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 very
All
special,
right.
Very special
guest.
guest.
Yeah. Welcome to Tapos Usapan. And yeah, we have a guest. Si Nex, first time niya ata mamimit si Junes.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is your first time meeting Junoy ever.
It's a pleasure to meet the man behind the content.
No, likewise.
I mean,
likewise,
I'm
man.
a big fan of the content. I see the work you put into that, man.
Oh,
That's
Thank you. Thank
that's
you so
no joke.
much.
That's no joke, man.
Yeah.
Content
Means a lot,
creation
man.
is
Likewise,
everything
likewise.
now. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually wanted to like get you two guys together because yeah, you're like the only two closest guitar players I know. Like in my
That's awesome.
life.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and yeah, just a bit of a introduction to to people who don't know. Junes and I go quite a while way back. 2017.
Yeah, I would say about 4 years. 4 years.
4 years.
4 very fruitful years, I would say.
Very,
you know.
very fruitful years, man. Like
Yeah.
I built my career together with this guy. Everything,
Right. Same.
pare.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually started my indie career with you, man. With you guys.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
kind of learned in the same manner. You know, it was the same experiences, same struggle, same fun, right?
Yeah,
Same
dude.
fun.
A lot of mistakes, a lot of like great decisions as
Yeah.
well. Like
Yeah,
ups and downs.
absolutely.
Regrets and
all
everything.
day, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
dude.
actually no regrets.
Yeah, no
though.
regrets.
Very
You know,
good.
I think that the only way to go through that direction is to make all those mistakes. Like there's actually no chance that you'll do it perfectly, right? It's virtually impossible to do it perfectly.
Exactly. I mean, you basically try to learn stuff along the way. Because when we started doing indie music together, there was no one to guide us in what we're supposed to do, you know? Basically,
Right.
we were aiming, like picking whatever feels right.
Yeah, we were just literally like this, just kind of, oh, this looks like with our eyes closed. This looks good. This sounds
Literally
good.
shooting in the dark. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah, shot in the dark. But I think in a good sense, like I don't think that it was necessarily to our detriment. I mean, like we, just like everyone else, we had exposure to exposure gigs, right? Like and strange. I mean, even if those are low to no pay, some of them like those are the ones I think looking back are the ones that when you check the numbers, like at least following wise, it would help. And like Arv knows, next, like Arv and I used to talk about like how everything is kind of part of the practice process, you know, like all the times that actually sometimes it's the ones that paid the least that I remember being more memorable than the ones that paid big.
Actually,
You know what I mean? Which is
we had
kind
more
of cool.
fun. We had more fun during those days, no?
Yeah. It was like it was fun because Arvin was already a beast next, like, and I'm sure you know, he was always fantastic.
For sure.
Maybe actually no, easily the craziest bassist. He reminded me of Victor Wooten, and I hope you take that as a compliment, Arv.
Hey.
Oh, thanks. Man. I really
But
do.
the natural touch of Victor Wooten and stuff. Yeah, he was a natural at it. Oh man, till now, lalo na ngayon, my God. And
My
he would
God.
always like he was so good that our bar gigs, our dive bar shows were like rehearsals. So we kind of adopted that mindset from him, where it was like these bar gigs, I guess low paying and whatnot, were kind of this training ground
Exactly.
for
that's how
the
we did it.
bigger things. So,
things.
so we adopted that mindset from Arvin, and then ironically, even if that is your training ground, when you go into like the slightly bigger stages, higher paying shows, you now crave that training ground again. You now crave that like freedom of having an audience member who's about the distance of myself to my monitor right here. Like they're like right in front and they're like staring at your pedal board or something like that. Like that's really
Taking everything out.
Yeah, just being like really geeking out on what you're doing because they can actually, you know, they're so close to you and you're so close to them. And how much more of a connection, I guess, can you get when you're on the bigger stage? It feels like you especially when the lights are low, you can kind of for a second forget that there's, you know, hundreds of people there.
Yeah, there's way more
Right?
disconnect, no?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say. I guess it depends. Like, and next, I'm not sure if you've met Miggy, our vocalist, but he's a master of just being a front man. He's a master of connecting and really engaging. So he's really good at that, no matter the size of the stage.
Exactly.
And actually, for him, he's sort of like an energy feeder. So the more people, the more he becomes this like enigma.
Yeah,
which
the
is
more
really,
the more,
really
the
awesome
more
to
energy,
see.
the more energy that people fuel him, the more he like hypes up.
Yeah, no, and it's really fun to watch. You know, we're just
Exactly.
like his wingmen, and it's really, really fun to watch. It's such a trip.
And I mean, as a fan, like watching all of you play, my God, it's like fever dream every time that I see you play in YouTube and everything. And I first saw BSN actually at UST.
Awesome.
But
I
unfortunately,
think I remember that.
Arvin was not there.
Yeah, I'm not there.
Was that the show when?
For architecture, I think.
So, if I'm not mistaken, if we are on the same, if we're talking about the same show, it was raining. It was super rainy.
That was it. That was it.
And Arv, get this, right? So it's raining like crazy, and so everyone's trying to seek shelter as our set's starting. My pedal board's a little bit soaked. Like it's a little bit of a nightmare, right?
Holy shit.
You know what Mickey does?
Yeah.
He goes, because the platform extends beyond where, because the stage had a bit of a tent, so we were okay.
Yeah.
But there's a platform that extends beyond it. Miggy straight up goes under the rain and sings, and then everyone comes back. It's this sort of, it was his way of like, we're gonna do this together.
That was something
you know?
else.
It blew my mind. That like I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking about it, because he was like, you're not the only one. You know, we're gonna get wet together. So we all went through it, and that was for me one of the most, I mean, one of many really, really mind-blowing things that Miggy did on stage. And mind you, we had another show, like that was UST, and we had to go play Zobel that night also. And so we were like, we were like back to back. Actually, it was so crazy because we sound checked in the morning in Zobel and then drove to UST. I think we had a snack on campus already. I had probably a hamburger. You know me, probably a hamburger. And then we played the show. It was raining, but it was intense. The energy was high. You know, the vibe was high. And I actually have somebody captured a really, really nice black and white photo of me, like almost kneeling down.
Holy shit.
And it was funny because it almost looked like I was like crying over the wet pedal board. That's not the case, but it's kind of if taken in the wrong context, that's like obviously that's not the case, but it kind of you could interpret it in that way. But that was a highly memorable gig, and I don't know how much in terms of like financial gain. I can't remember what it was, but like, see, that's I guess where it's fun to separate the financial gain from the actual memory of it.
And man, you can't recreate that through online stuff, pare. Like,
oh no way, not even close, man.
No, man. That's why
it's so weird.
I hate online. Like, I mean, I support online gigs if you're making money out of online stuff. Yeah, good for you. But it can't beat live performances, pare. Like, the amount of like uncertainty that goes through playing live. If you mess up or like the band goes through something that you never know, and you can adapt. Like there's a lot of times that I've been playing with Junoy, and not a lot happens in terms of like we'd play something off, or like we'd play something
it's
weird.
More technical.
It's more
like a technical difficulty, like it
and sometimes we just kind of adapt towards it, and we can you can make the most out of it, and it's actually really fun like learning through that, because if you see technical difficulties or like messing up or like a problem, you won't really grow from that. Like you need
that's very true.
Yeah, you need to learn how to adapt, right? Like whenever you're playing, wherever you are, and you're trying to like do something about like it kind of makes it spontaneous in a way. Like not everything you've rehearsed for is gonna happen. Like
actually, it's almost never the case. Actually, it's literally never the case that what you expect is what happens. Not music and in life, right? Exactly what you plan for is almost sometimes the opposite of what does happen. And there is, I guess, this adrenalizing feeling of stuff going wrong or stuff going in a different direction that forces you into. Sometimes there are stage situations that are bordering like fight or flight. You're kind of like, I have to do this show, and then you kind of just black out and come out of it thinking like, wow, that was okay. That was, you know, we did okay.
Yeah.
Thank God, and thank God for that, you know, because I think, yeah, just to go back to what you're saying, when it comes to like the online stuff, I think the closest that you can get to is if the group can actually get together and record in the same room, where you don't get any audience energy, but at least you get each other's energy, because you need a little bit, because you need to talk to someone in a musical sense. The one that is really challenging for me is the frame by frame drummer will which Arv and I have done a couple of times, and we've been doing throughout. Like there was a time that everyone was craving a jam, so I was doing like collabs with my students, like just collabs with Arv, collab with whoever, just to kind of get that sense of like, this is the best that you can get in the when it was the peak of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
That was the most that you could get. But in general, when we were doing gigs, where it was like, in our case, Faisal, our drummer, would record the drum track first, and then either I'd come on next or Arv would come on next. That is so challenging.
It is.
Because like, there's no, you know, your drummer will just follow the grid, and you will follow the drummer's grid,
whatever he plays.
Whereas, yeah, whatever they play, and you try to keep play on their time. Well, of course, you're supposed to play in the drummer's time naturally, but the live aspect, the energy sometimes decides the natural, beautiful fluctuations of tempo.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There is the excitability of the audience, which then affects the excitability on stage, or vice versa.
Yeah.
That will cause the tempo to fluctuate just a little bit, you know, and that you don't get
online
when you're recording one at a time, which is why even on a studio level, I feel like it's so much better to record live versus like go track per track. Like, I mean, yeah, to have everyone track at the same time, and then of course the vocals will come after, but that is so much more natural for me. And I guess it's different for others. Maybe some people would prefer the track per track, I guess, especially if it's one musician emailing another musician's stems and they're in different countries like that. You know, no choice, right?
That's true.
You know,
You gotta do what you gotta do.
you gotta do what you gotta do. Absolutely, man.
Besides that, man, like, we gotta know who is Junoy Manalo, pare. Your story, pare.
Ayun
Because
nga,
if
ayun
one thing, man, this guy is one of the hardest working musicians I know. Like, he knows
thank
I
you,
work
man.
hard too, but this guy is on a different grind, man.
And
I'm
actually,
telling you,
I
pare.
think that's why Arvin and I are able to meet in a very, very close level, is because we, I don't know, like I don't know, maybe this is just an opinion or an assumption. I feel like people will gravitate towards people with similar work ethic. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's why
Very
Arvin and I
understandable.
naturally, I feel like that's why Arvin and I naturally, when we'd be in the lab, in Fi's lab, you know, we could be talking for hours but not say a word.
Yeah.
Right? We could just be talking, like he'll play a bass thing, I'll play a bass thing, I'll play a guitar thing, and then it'll travel and travel and travel, and then Fi's like, hey, it's dinner time. Like, oh, sorry. But yeah, I guess my informal introduction. I am Junoy. I play guitar for basically Saturday nights. I'm bandmates with Arvin. I also play with Paul Marnie and the Rascals.
Yeah.
Paul Marnie is my
know.
mentor. He has trained me very viciously through the last couple of years to improve my blues playing, because I was so intrigued by it. I'm a blues player at heart. I'm a funk enthusiast.
Dude.
I'm a jazz enthusiast. I love the language. I just can't play it yet. But I love the language of it. I'm an aspiring producer. I guess now I can say I'm an aspiring producer. I'm learning slowly but surely. I've just released some music, which is part of the learning process.
Yeah, man. Like, congrats on
yeah.
Tarantism, pare.
Tarantism.
Thank you.
Let's go.
That was something, man. How'd that come up? Like, what happened
Right.
with that? What's the story behind it?
I think there was a point, because I started just dabbling like very, very mindlessly in April of this year. So April, it was one of those like am I gonna practice? Do you guys ever have those like, am I gonna practice today?
Those one of
You know,
those
like,
blank moments.
Do
na-
you guys have that? Like the instrument
man.
is like 5 feet from you, and like, am I gonna plug you?
I don't want to
am I
touch
gonna...
it right now, you know?
Yeah,
Literally
do
right
I
in
wanna?
front of me.
It's right like here, like here, right? It's right.
Yep.
Am I gonna practice today? And then I looked, I kind of panned in this direction. None of the setup was here before, but I had like a box with, it was like a M Audio key station mini. It was like a mini 32 that's about this long.
Mhm.
And it was just in a box. It was collecting dust for like how many years? And sort of like side trivia, that was the first keyboard that Jairus was playing when we started just jamming. Jairus is our keyboard player for BSN. And so that's what he started with. But it was just collecting dust. And I was like, okay, I just got my interface back because we were recording Arv. We were doing some recordings for some online gigs, right? So
Yeah.
I saw it collecting dust and I was like, you know, what if I just plug it in and make whatever, like literally, like no expectations, no. And then I think the first thing that I made was like a sort of like a acid bass line kind of a song that turned out to be a track called Story of Quincy Jones, the story of Quincy Jones. So it was because I mean I'm an avid listener of like house music, and if you actually kind of dig into the way that some of BSN's live stuff is, I feel like a lot of it is also in a way patterned based on dance music, in the sense that there's sort of this build up, this climax, and
very
then
much so. Yeah,
build up and climax. Like if we have a song called What's That Driving Song Part 2, which, and if you treat it like some of the songs, when they move into another, it's almost like they have these DJ like transitions. Because I've been DJing since maybe 2012 on and off. I'm really heavy into it now, especially because of the production stuff. So yeah, I tried it, and then it was really quick, the sort of creation process. So within like 2 weeks, I made all the songs for Tarantism 1, or maybe
the one.
Volume 1.
yeah, but the editing process was like that took a while. So
Yeah.
I think I released Tarantism 1 in July.
Yeah.
And you know, you might argue that of course that's a little premature for a guy who freaking started in April, right? But like again, I don't regret it because I hear it, and obviously like the sound quality, it is what it is. But a lot of that had to do with the fact that like I was using a laptop that was from 2012. I actually like I didn't have monitors that I didn't have the monitors that I do now. My keyboard was this big, and like my software was so slow that like when you would want to make a big change, you'd get like the 10-minute rainbow wheel. So you're kind of just like, you know, like maybe it's not so bad naman. It's not so bad naman. Baka, you know, you kind of just like accept certain things. And I feel like that was all a part of the learning. As I went, I kept just trying to understand the way EQ works. Like mainly that's the thing that excites me so much, is the sculpting of the EQ.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, that part is so fun. And I mean, I've always been curious about it. Before, we used to record in studios, and I'd always spend most of the time in the session just kind of like hanging out with the engineer, with the mixing engineer, with the recording engineer, asking like, what are you doing? Why do you do that? Like what is that doing, or what are you fixing, right?
Yeah, you're actually the most
curious
in-depth in all of us. Like whenever I see us recording, you're always beside whoever engineer.
I think, I mean, because I think I can speak on behalf of all creatives when I say that we're all just like hyper curious.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're all just
That's
really
very
curious
true.
we're all just curious, oh, what if I try this? You know, what if I dabble into this part of my craft or something like that? So after I finished Tarantism 1, I put it out. I mean, it was pretty like well received. People were like, I thought you were a guitar player. What are you doing? And that was part of my fear, is putting it out, and like I knew I was gonna disappoint a lot of people, which was kind of, if you think about it, how cool is it to know that, versus hoping that everyone is gonna get it. Like there's two different sort of trains of thought. Like you could you want to put something out that's like a project that you've been working so tirelessly on, and you want to hope that it'll do really well. But then there's the other pocket of thought where it's kind of like, I know you're not gonna like this. So isn't that a little bit freeing? Like, oh, I know you're not gonna dig it. Like, because nobody ever really, I don't know, maybe some people do, but to know that only a certain amount of people will dig it, especially if they like dance music or if they like house music, a little freeing.
That's interesting.
Because I mean, more often than not, you're hoping that everyone will like it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. You're always shooting for like everything.
Yeah, you're shooting for numbers, but I did it knowing that the numbers are not going to be great. You know, like my first project's not going to sound that good. It's the same as like a first gig. You don't come out your first gig and you're already kneeling and you know you have a pedal board that's like this big. It doesn't. It's trial and error.
Yeah. Exactly.
And like I feel like I used to be a big fan of like putting out guitar content. Like I have an Instagram and it's full of, well, especially before you know how Instagram has that feature now where it's pictures, videos, and then tag. If you go to the video section, there's a fair amount. Like through the last 3 years, I think I got on Instagram 3 years ago. And I don't know if it's a good thing, but after a while I felt like it is a lot of work. Just to tie back into what I was telling next, it's a lot of work to create content, even if, especially for next, like mine was just, I'm just playing guitar, but you were, you know, the full production aspect of it, right?
Definitely.
It is a lot of effort. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be putting effort. I think you always should, but it is a lot of effort for something that people will.
Yeah, because the problem with that is like, you know, keeping consistency is number one, but you know you can do the guitar parts like to a T perfectly, but the problem is being the cameraman, the editor.
No, that's why.
Like the creative itself, like it's another thing to just be someone who's like doing the thing, like you're just being recorded.
Yeah.
But there's another thing if
absolutely.
you're going to be like the one who like does the music, also does the creative, who also does the editing. You're also gonna advertise it, and you gotta be consistent with that. Like you don't have a team behind you, right?
Yeah,
it's a
absolutely
whole different world, man.
It's a one man sort of production, right? Like
Exactly.
And next you can very well understand. I see how hard you work, man. I see that. And yeah, which is also like why you can. There are always angles to reappreciate people like Jacob Collier for what he does. Like he for all the video editing, for all the, you know, he compiles stems from around the world, he contacts the greatest of the greatest, and he's amazing also. And he does it all. Like imagine he'll do 100 different vocal harmonies. And you know, the other day we were out, like a few weeks ago, we were recording just demos. Miggy and I were recording some demos.
Yeah. And
just to record like, you know, 10 harmonies, so to speak. That's something like 10 harmonies. It's already such a challenge to get really clean and unnatural. Of course, you don't want to do any pitching. You want it to be as natural and stuff. You reappreciate certain things when you dabble into the production side.
Exactly.
But I think a lot of so what I was getting at a while ago was like, because I felt like it was a lot of effort for something that people will just scroll through or watch for 1 minute and then, you know. I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's part of the craft though. Like because I mean, at the end of the day, we are here to inspire other people. That's part of the initiative, is to, you know, you want the people, especially like this is how I felt, especially, you know, I would speak to some students about this. Like, for example, if there are people who are losing motivation and they scroll and they see, hey, look, but Next is still playing guitar, even if everyone's so sick of it because they're just at home. I should do this too. So actually, that's the right way to go. But I feel like why I transitioned into production is I kind of wanted something that's not technically tangible, but slightly more tangible, something that people can like have in their pockets and open with Spotify and maybe listen and enjoy if they want to.
Yeah.
Something that's longer than a minute, and then, you know, like, you know, it's a whole different thing. And another thing that really pushed me to try it out was there's no band. Like there's like, it was the only way that it just kind of like I wanted to get into like jamming. I mean, you know, Arvin can absolutely agree. We're improvisers. We're jammers.
Yeah,
Like that's
exactly.
really, you know, like BSN, for example, is a jam band at heart. Like,
It is.
you know,
Holy
we
shit,
could
man.
there would be times where, especially on the instrument side, whether Miggy, sometimes, you know, if Miggy's not there in the session, then we could do a whole, you know, 6 hours, of course with breaks, but 6 hours, 8 hours, not even actually playing a song, just
Yeah.
deciding these are the changes, this is the field change. And even when Miggy would be there, he's just the same. He's an improviser.
Exactly.
You know, he'd start improvising lyrics. So to lose that jam aspect, I kind of wanted to, I don't know, recreate it myself.
Yeah.
And for coming from somebody who's mainly a guitar player, a bit of an arranger, but mainly a guitar player at the time, I acknowledge that, you know, guitar is a musical instrument, obviously, but not the most musical instrument. It is just actually just a part of music. And in my opinion, some of the best music that I enjoy the most doesn't even have guitar. So, and then keeping that in mind, it's like, well, you kind of zoom out and you try to understand how music works as a whole. And how guitar functions as just a part of music versus trying to inject goddamn blues solo everywhere, every single place that you can.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because that's good and fun, but it's not always necessary.
That's true.
Sure.
Like,
You know,
you gotta balance everything out, you know?
absolutely. And we're still learning. I'm still learning. I just put out 2 EPs and like, you know, I'm working on my next one.
Yeah, dude. For sure.
Yeah,
We'd love to listen to
hopefully early
next
Feb or
year.
late Jan. It's
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get better and better, man. Like,
that. Dude, it
just not
shows,
for
man.
anything else, but just like it's so fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's
My
just
God,
for
just-
you. I mean, if you're doing music, do it for
Yeah,
you. Like, you don't have to like self-serve everyone or like serve anyone in
Yeah,
any
no.
way.
absolutely.
Like
Like,
that
I mean,
was
there's a
our
degree.
record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's in a way self-serving. I guess it's a good balance of like playing what you like, but also being smart enough to know what some people might like also. Does that make
Sure.
sense? Like,
Sure.
you have the sort of musical brain to balance out and to really compartmentalize what to you sounds good versus what you think would be understandable, at least. Now, it doesn't have to be other people don't have to like it, but then you just want to balance it out. You want to be a little bit of both. That's just for me. That's for us. Like, some people, of course, they want entirely like, this is just for me,
Exactly.
which is awesome also, and really, really ballsy. It's very brave, and it's actually very cool if you can go through that process without feeling bad, that
Yeah.
because you have to expect that, you know, it may or may not do well.
Yeah, that's
You know, it's
something
brave.
else, though.
It's brave.
That's something else. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hyper brave. Yeah.
You gotta be something like to do something for. Man, you know what? What I did like a few weeks ago, I was in a call with Nex. I went to our G Drive and I was listening to our jams, pare. I was reminiscing our stuff, the early 2018
Yeah.
stuff that we were doing, and our recordings would last for like hours, man. It's crazy.
You were surprised actually.
Hours.
Yeah, it was,
Hours,
it was
man.
Hours. bro.
Hours.
Like the amount of time.
So
like,
now Nex knows how I actually. Now you know the real stuff, not the recorded stuff. Now you know
Yup.
the BS stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Now you really know me as a musician. Yeah.
And man, if everything goes back to like we could jam again. Well, yes, it'll happen. But
For
you
sure.
know, I love us for everyone to create music again, especially with this guy.
Yeah. Absolutely,
Yeah.
man. I'm all for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And also one
Be a
thing,
privilege.
aside from the EP, congrats as well, pare, on getting the ambassador for being an ambassador for Frequency,
Woo,
man.
Frequency
Yes.
Guitars.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
pare,
I am
really
such a big
well
fan of
deserved, man.
Frequency, man.
Really
Like,
well deserved, man.
I actually, we had a BSN show in Sagiho,
Uh-huh.
which I always say is one of my favorite places to play ever.
Same.
I actually remember Patrick, who is the CEO of Frequency. He played, if not right before us, he was one of the bands before us, and I think it was Kalain. The band was Kalain. and he was playing like a Fiesta, sorry, not a Fiesta, Placid Blue Telecaster.
Ooh.
And he was busting out some Stevie Ray Vaughan stuff. And that's cool, man. That's cool. And then we came after, and then host upgrade. Just saw the added minutes. Dope. Okay, anyway, sorry.
That's a flex.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a flex there. Very cool.
That's some free minutes.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, like after we played, he came up to me and we started talking about tone a little bit. He was a fan of my playing. I was a fan of his playing. And then he reached out. I did a demo they did a black one replica.
Yeah, that was the first video.
That was the first video, which was so that was October of last year. And it was really challenging because, like, you know me, Arv, like, if there's one thing that you should know, I'm not so into like the sort of the self-promotion stuff. Not because I don't think it's necessary. I think it's so necessary. But I just think I'm not very good at it. You know, like,
dude, the video you made was like really, really fucking good, man.
That was my sister. My sister is really good at videography and, you know, graphic design and all that stuff.
Oh, shit.
So that was a walk in the park for her.
Yeah.
But I just remember, you know, I'm not the most like camera ready, always on the dot when it comes to conversation kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
So like I kind of had to learn a little bit. Sorry, is the glare bothering you guys, dude? It's bothering me, man. It's bright up here, man.
Oh shit!
Is it bothering you guys? Is that cool?
Yep, it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
It's cool.
parang it's sunrise.
Don't
I
mind
know.
Oh, it's actually a really nice effect. It's glowing.
That's awesome.
The sun is
Yeah,
shining.
no. So I did 3 demos for him. I did the black one. I did a 57 Strat, which actually the 57 Strat, the second one, because the third one was the John Mayer 64, which is also really good. But the second one, the neck, that's what my guitar is based on.
Ooh,
So he was, you know, I'm not the most technical specs kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
So when he asked me, like, you know, what do you want in terms of the neck profile, I was like, can it just be like the 57? I mean,
like
can
this
we
one,
just
this fits.
like
Yeah,
this
like
one, like
this-
this guitar.
yeah, like that one, like could it be like that one that I demoed before? Because that one had a really nice feel to it. It was it was maybe among the 3 that was the easiest for me to play. I don't necessarily have the biggest, strongest hands or anything like that, so that was the best one.
Wow.
And he built it like, you know, it's a dream, man. Like, can you even wrap your head around having an instrument that's to your specs? Like, it's such a treat, you know.
Yeah, it is, man.
That's why I'm now calling him Santa Claus. Because, you know, it's not even Christmas and he's already, you know, busting out the gifts. So that time in Sagiho, I met with, I mean, we talked a little bit after our set, and that was 3 years ago. And
Wait, I was there?
between that, yeah, no, you were there, man. You were there. He played before us, and you know my corner, right? My corner is always closer to the window. in
Yeah.
Giho. Yeah, so like we were like talking just right there. Actually, it wasn't even during the conversation. I mean, it was during set down. You know what I mean? We all have those, right? Like,
yeah, we do have
like
those.
as you're setting down, they're like talking about, you know,
And he was like at the door, near the door.
Near the door, absolutely. Yeah, he was I think he was already in a bucket hat that time, which is kind of sometimes part of his style. Yeah, that was, and then between that time and last week, everything has just been like a kind of online relationship where he's like, hey, I'd love to send you a guitar for you to demo. What's really cool about Patrick is he's not very, very I mean, he's very, very detail oriented, but he's not necessarily super instruction based in the sense that he gives me a lot of freedom. He's not like, he's not the type to be like, could you play exactly this? Exactly. He's just kind of like, do what you do, and I can't wait for the result.
That's some
which
trust,
is really,
man.
Yeah, it's a lot of trust. So as meticulous as he is with the detail, he's also very trusting of what I might, even if he doesn't really know what's gonna come out until it's posted sometimes. you know, which is really cool. And we've
That's
built
something
kind of like
else, actually.
Magaling ka kasi gago.
no, the thing is, I think we're on a similar wavelength, and I guess because he's a big blues fan. I mean, you can see it in the guitars that they're building. A lot of them are based on these
a lot
blues
of
rock
homages,
classic.
Yeah,
a lot of homages to classic blues rock guitars, classic blues players. And so I feel like that's where we get along. So I feel like that's where the trust comes from.
Mhm.
Just going back to how he was playing Stevie stuff, and sometimes you know, I'm a bastard in a BSN song. I'll squeeze in a Stevie Ray Vaughan lick. I don't care, you know, just because that's part of our language. Like that's really how you express, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Frequency is awesome, man. I couldn't talk enough good about them. And Patrick is very sweet to me. He's a great guy.
Dude, I was talking to at the next, like, if ever they need, like, I actually want a bass made by them. Like, if I could request,
yeah, if
they
they made basses, I would buy one in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would
And
ask
if
them.
ever-
I don't know. I don't know. I actually don't know their plans for the coming year. But if I wouldn't be surprised because you know I was talking about their growth when we met last week. I'm just talking about their growth is not even on like a yearly basis. It's on like a weekly basis.
It was super
Like
fast.
they're getting wilder and wilder by the week. The builds are getting more detailed, you know, and yeah, no. Since the first guitar, I started really like, wow, this is, well, you know, there are many reasons, but this is one of the reasons to be proud of local. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
There are a billion reasons to be proud of local. I just want to say, but that is definitely one of them.
It's like
No,
a huge part of it, like especially in terms of customs. As we all know, one of the we could say that one of the biggest custom shops in the Philippines is LG, right? Everybody knows
Right.
LG.
right,
And
right.
Frequency came out of nowhere, swinging. You know, it's like
Swinging
Oh,
hard, you know,
holy
coming in
shit.
hot,
exactly.
coming in way
like,
hot, man.
These guys are like
Mhm.
crazy good, and I saw the details on the
Yeah.
guitar. I mean, like I'm not usually a fan of Relic, but when I saw their like Relic finishes, it was like, holy shit, this is so tastefully done. Like,
Yeah, because there
props to the
are
builders.
some cheaper looking relic. I mean, obviously, we're not here to talk brands
yeah.
at all, but
Yep.
there are some that you know it literally looks like it was painted and then they removed a little bit. It was
Mhm.
like it's almost like I don't know. I obviously wouldn't know what I was saying because I don't know the relicing process. I don't know the detailing and the lacquering process of guitars, but just I've had some points of reference where
that
you
it looks
see
half-assed.
certain brands in stores that kind of dabble into relic, like certain brands that like foreign brands that would local and foreign that would dabble into relic. So those are my reference. So when the black one, when the first one came, actually all of them came. They all had different relicing styles. They all had different levels of detail, all very high levels of detail, but different amounts of relic. And like me, I wanted a very light relic like because I know naman that it will naturally, you know, with the sweating, the overexposure to bars,
The
and stuff like
oils
that,
and everything.
it will age on its own, and the dinging bumping it into I don't know, something, you know, a
It's
door
part of it,
or
I know.
something. I
It's
don't
part
know.
of
I don't know why that happens, but sometimes I used to like be walking downstairs with a guitar, like just unplugged, you know, going down to get a coffee, bam, yeah, and you're like,
Okay.
it's part of the character, I guess. Yeah.
Dude, there's
So those stuff
something about
happen
it.
naturally anyway.
Yeah, there's something
Yeah.
about like there's something about relics or like the feel of a used guitar that you could
Mhm.
just play.
Yeah.
Unlike
Yeah,
because
man.
if you buy a brand new guitar, there's just something off-putting about it that you don't want to go all out.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's a little fear about the first any item, any appliance, any instrument, even accessories, watches and stuff. It's the first ding,
Yeah,
right?
it gets
Because
to
prior
you.
to that, you're like, this
It
is my
hurts
baby,
the
this is my
most.
baby. It hurts the most, but after the first couple, you're like,
Okay.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
For
dude.
some.
For some.
Obviously, for phones, it happens, but it shouldn't. For laptops also.
Oh yeah.
But yes, just yeah, to your point, like it it's a crazy thing with these frequency guitars is because they're brand new, but they feel like they've gone through so much already.
Yeah.
You know, like because they're, it's like my favorite guitars prior were secondhand. Like a lot of my strats are actually
Same.
secondhand
Same.
because they have a story, they have flaws, they have these like intonation issues that force you to like learn that same phrase in a different part of the fretboard because there's intonation and you have to know it in that guitar. And what's funny is if you have a couple, I think not a lot. I think I have like now 5 strats. But you tend to forget, oh, this is the guitar where the 15th fret is fucked. So you're going for that. There's a really quiet, low down blues solo, and you're gonna go for it, and then you know that kind of there's that choking sound that intonation, like intonation issues cause, and you kind of like open your eyes, like, oop, yeah, that's the wrong guitar. Because you know when you're playing and your eyes are closed, sometimes you'll forget. Yeah. You know, you're not really thinking, I am playing the white one right now. I'm playing the sunburst one right now, or the black one. You're kind of just playing what you would play, you know. But those intonation issues from secondhand guitars, and you know, they force you again to learn those phrases in different areas, and to get that secondhand feel in a thing that's brand new and perfectly intonated. That was what like put me over the top in terms of my excitement.
And do you think, like, in terms of like the guitar you have right now with Freakquency, you achieved like most of what you're looking for in a guitar?
It's the best guitar I've ever played.
Damn.
I told that to Patrick. I didn't need to mention it. I mean, I didn't mention that in the unboxing. I didn't know if people would find it like dishonest, like be like, oh, this guy's advertising. But it really like, and maybe I should have. I don't. Maybe that's my mistake. But I did tell Patrick, because he was very nervous. I remember him being like, "Hey, like, how is it?" Like a few hours after we met up, and I already did the unboxing. I recorded the unboxing. We taped it, and he was just like really nervous. Like, how is it? You know, like kind of nervous about my feedback. And I straight up told him it's the best guitar I've ever played.
Yeah.
It. I think the guitars that are. I used to be into guitars that fight you a little bit because you know blues players, especially the Stevie Ray one, which is kind of counterintuitive. The whole like big strings, big tone, heavy gauge, heavy high action, all that stuff. That stuff's great if you have like American hands.
Yeah.
Good for you. Go for it. But if not, you know, go for what like you should go for instruments that make you play at your best, not the ones that you think because tone wise or no, you're copying a certain guy who had hands that are the size of your fucking shoes. That you can't copy that. You can't exactly copy that kind of thing. So go for what is most comfortable. And the ones that he's made me try and the one that he built for me, comfort is number one. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. What about you guys, man? How's Canada? How's music next? How's everything? You know, I'm a guest here, but I'm just as curious. You know.
Oh yeah, about it. Let's talk about it.
Arvin.
In terms of music, holy shit, man. It's just jazz, you know? I've been playing.
That's awesome.
Like, it's just, like, Vancouver is, I would say, the home of rock and jazz. Because
really?
Nothing really, any music here that's not, like, in those categories, you don't really get a gig, in a way. Because most of the musicians here are heavily into jazz. I don't know why, but that's just how the culture works. And and I met this really, really amazing piano player. He's my friend right now, and we just actually came from a rehearsal.
That's the rehearsal. Cool.
Yeah, it was just really fun and interesting because playing with the difference in terms of like how they understand jazz as a culture, not just as a genre to play, because that's what I used to think about jazz is like I think about whenever I used to play, I never thought about the culture and like in terms of how you should be able to play in a certain feeling, in a certain manner, like
with respect to the history, you mean?
Yeah, not only with the history, but in respects to the other player, like you're not stepping in his shoes when he's playing.
Right.
Like when he's doing something, you don't really need to overstep, or there's sometimes that you need to overstep a bit just to make it a bit more interesting, or not to make it a bit boring. So I kind of got that into a T. In a way, I'm not saying like I perfected it, but I'm kind of getting the language. Like
that's
in terms
awesome,
of playing.
Man.
It's really difficult, but yeah, it's like mainly jazz and nothing else. And I've been working with Nex. We've been trying to do a lot of with hip hop lo-fi.
Oh, sick.
And we're thinking of getting you next because we need you, bro.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we
Let
should
me know,
work-
man.
We
Let
should
me
work
know.
a lot of stuff more because and the world is coming back
Yeah,
soon.
slowly but surely.
And yeah, we need to get that grind back, pare. Oh,
Yeah.
also one thing I wanted
know,
to ask you about.
I recently.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you first.
No, I was just saying, like, I recently watched a documentary. It blew my mind to find out that Oscar Peterson was Canadian.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe he was one of the earlier jazz guys in Canada,
Well,
which is
that's-
awesome.
That's true.
That's so cool. Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask pare your opinion on the future pare of OPM. Because right now, OPM is like in I would say in a very weird place.
It's
In
in a
term-
transitional
in ter-
period.
In terms of genre, pare, there's like a huge transition right now because a lot of the big acts are like transitioning in differences of sound. For example, si Zild, diba? Si Zild
Right.
came from Four Spades, made his own thing, and is now transitioning to like kind of folkish sounding,
Right.
ballad stuff. And everybody is changing, and there's a huge boom in the P-pop scene. Like I don't know if you listen to P-pop like SB19 or like these guys who does like pop music heavily. Basically the boy band scene in a way. Pero
Right.
yun nga, like the evolution of genres is just something that always has interested me. And what are your opinions on it, man? Like, do you think we could head in a different direction that you could have like a specific genre na tingin mo would go like I would say like in genre
I think-
natin, I guess, in a way. I don't know.
I mean, that is a very, very great question. A scary one at that. So
It
why don't I
is.
put a second of thought into it because I also want to hear how Nex is doing musically. So
Mhm.
and then I want to get into that. So Nex, how are you?
Alright,
And then I
alright.
want to talk about that. Let's
Okay.
go
I've-
for that.
Actually, right now, I'm actually feeling still nervous. Alam ni Arvin to kasi kanina. Kasi, ayun, okay. I'm really fanboying right now, so I'm sorry, bro. Okay. But, yeah, music-wise, as what Arvin has said kanina, we're really working on our stuff, like with hip-hop and that good. That's our thing. We're really having
Sick.
fun right now, and it's something na I'm putting more of my time sa ginagawa namin kasi it's really something that I'm passionate about lalo. But also with my band as well na minamanage din ni Arvin.
Cool. Very cool. The all-around man.
Yep. he is,
Arvin, the all-around man.
I try, bro. I try.
That's awesome.
I have to say, like you're playing, bro, Junoy, it has injected a lot sa playing ko.
Oh, thank
you-
you, man.
you inspired me in
That's very kind of you.
Like no shit or whatever, it transformed the way that I hold the guitar and how I play things. Like my chord knowledge as well. Like with triads and everything, the things that you do, your mannerisms, I actually like absorbed it in a way.
Wow,
And,
thank you, man.
Yeah, I'm just
That
really a
means a
big
lot.
fan.
Yeah,
Just
no,
really
I'm a
big
fan of
If-
you guys too. You
if
know,
it's
you
not,
guys, Arvin's my friend, you're my friend, but I'm fans just the same. Like I'm
Uh-huh.
fans of you both. Like
Man.
that's awesome. I really appreciate that.
Mm.
It's very, very nice of you. And yeah, I'm glad to know that you guys are working on that good, like the hip hop stuff. I can't wait, man.
Ah.
You know, and Arvin's always been actually very much into like the hip hop stuff. The
Mhm.
hip hop sort of the neo soul kind of stuff, the R&B stuff.
Yeah.
Aside from everything, literally every other genre that Arvin
Mhm.
does, obviously. So Arvin does all.
Mhm. It's actually
Literally
quite a
all.
miracle that we've met up because well, yun nga si Arvin dati.
I've never met this guy in person.
What a trip, man! It's sort of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
pen pals, like
I
modern
know,
pen
man.
pals.
It's
You know
so
what I mean?
weird, bro.
Let's go
Yeah, that's
this
sick.
project like with Arvin, we were able to like get out of our comfort zones, I think, because
No, I bet.
Kasi ang comfort zone ko talaga is more on the bluesier side as well. I came from a John Mayer standpoint.
Right.
This is why I also look up to you because I really love your playing. If it's
Thank
not
you.
that obvious.
Well, thank you. I
But,
just
yeah.
stole all of John Mayer's shit.
Well, don't we all?
Yeah, we all. I think that's part of
Mm.
the learning. Yeah.
But yeah, after after meeting up with Arvin, it became a vessel for me to, get out of that scene and go for what I really like to my art
Yeah.
is, and that's hip hop. That's more of the things
Oh,
that
that's so cool,
I
man.
can play with the bluesier stuff. So yeah.
Injecting the little stuff.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And it's quite challenging, like, because, and I guess this ties back into what we were saying a while ago. It's like, if you're a specific style to begin with, like,
Mhm.
let's say blues, like, blues is very hard to inject into hip hop.
Yeah.
So you
True.
have to adjust. It's blues is, I think up to now, I think that blues and house music or dance music don't necessarily get along. In terms of, like, you wouldn't inject one into the other. I mean, blues can get funky, but house music is almost never bluesy unless they sample blues singers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's usually the
True.
extent that you'll go, which is common. They through the years, how many times have they sampled Aretha Franklin and stuff?
Exactly.
But yeah, so it's not sort of this two-way relationship. That's awesome. It forces you kind of like to think outside of what you know. You end up, I think, doing more of what you've heard rather than what you've done,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
You kind of have pegs, or the sort of the mind's ear starts to activate a little more. The mind's ear is now thinking, what have I heard? What can I reference here, since what I've done doesn't necessarily work, right? I could, we can play blues all day. It'd be 1-4-5 for 6 years straight, but that's not gonna, that's not gonna make you a house check or a hip hop
Exactly.
check, right?
Yeah.
Right. So that's very cool, man.
That's not gonna.
Mhm.
Okay, well, that didn't give me any time to think about the question, but I will answer it. I'll answer it blind. So, in terms of, I think the local industry has, in one way or another, there are sections of it, and large sections, if I may add, that have for a long time been very westernized already.
Yeah.
I think that in terms of, and this is a bit of a generalization, I could be very wrong. It's just my opinion. I think a lot of the alternative stuff is patterned after the similar stuff. A lot of the alternative stuff is patterned after, the indie bands in the States, or the indie bands from like Arctic Monkeys. People dig into a little bit of like Tame Impala and stuff. Generally, the alternative stuff, they listen to the same stuff, so they fall under that category of indie sound. Sometimes it's vocal effects. Sometimes you have two guitars. One is a little bit more flanged. One has a phaser or something like that. And actually your tempo usually is about 140 BPM. That kind of thing. It's all very westernized. I think that a lot of funk, even the local funk stuff, is patterned more after like funk that is westernized versus some of the local funk, especially because a lot of it is in English, which is just I think the goal there is for better relatability, right? Like, I guess you want to make your songs in English so that the reach will extend beyond the local stuff. So if you, it's like, I guess, like, I have a reference of like the funk that has come, even for us, even for BSN, because BSN is sometimes a funk band. I'll say sometimes.
Sometimes. Emphasis
like,
on
if
that.
you compare it, it's like, it's not necessarily like, the other day I was listening to a really funky Ryan Kayab song called Itik Itik, which is kind of like almost like a Herbie Hancock style instrumental funk groove. So this is a little bit paradoxical, because now I'm thinking our music is based more on Western funk as opposed to funk from older funk artists, like, for example, like when Eddie Mooney would do jazz funk stuff. It's based more on like Americans than it is based on Filipino. But then now that if you dig a lot deeper, Eddie Mooney, Ryan Kayab, like, I feel like Itik Itik, if I'm not mistaken, was I could be very wrong, but it feels like a nod to Herbie Hancock. So even then, it was westernized.
Yeah.
So I feel like, in terms of the way that genres are going, and the way that music always has been, it kind of is just this borrow and I think it's okay. I think it's good that we're borrowing and we're being influenced by everyone. I don't think that it's ever going to be a singular genre.
Yeah.
You know, because there was a time, I don't think it's as intense now, but like the main stuff that was doing well was like the hip hop trap beat stuff.
They did.
Not necessarily locally, but like internationally. And pop has always reigned supreme, but whereas pop used to be more band centric, now it's more electronic. I feel like it's the same as, if I'm, you know, this is a very terrible analogy, but it's the same as bell-bottom jeans going in and out of style for men and for women. It's gonna keep coming in and out. You know, there was a time people hated Crocs. Now everyone's wearing Crocs.
Exactly. And
you know what I mean?
Crocs.
Like there's this is sort of like, if there are certain things that can stand the test of time, they will come back.
Exactly.
That's why funk becomes uso for a period, or you know, it was mainly hip hop that's uso for a period, or the more dancey stuff it's always just fluctuating like this. And you know, whatever happens, it there's just this cyclical thing where our job, I guess, as borrowers, so to speak, is to try to make something that, even if it in terms of inspiration is borrowed, is still original in the way that you interpret it. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Should still be,
That's
even
true.
if you're borrowing from everyone, just the same as everyone was borrowing from everyone in the past, you want to interpret it honestly, so that whatever genre it transitions into, it's still authentic. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that, I guess that's maybe a vague answer, but that's the best I can do, man. You know,
Yeah.
I'm doing what I
get
can
it.
here.
Yeah, I get it. It's kind of like the one thing that I'm interested in is like, how do you would it work if, like, in a specific era, like right now, for example, if we're doing, like, let's say, like we're doing funk right now, like a lot of stuff is basically heavily on funk, and you try to put something different, like make it happen like in a more different manner, like, would you think that would work? Like, because, like, for example, Wolfpack came in an odd time and it worked for them, like, right?
Yeah.
No one was listening to funk back then, but when Wolfpack came, everybody came. Like, Wolfpack came, and then there was Scary Pockets, and everybody rode that high.
Right.
Like, everybody went to the funk route. Like, some did covers, some did like a major funky groove, and now everybody's doing the funk thing. And now it's kind of dying down. It's kind of dying down, you know, in a weird way. Like, I'm not gonna say purely like everything. Like, Wolfpack is still gonna be that band, but in terms of like how you would push into like a certain boundary to be in the numbers, like be included in a certain like a big name act.
Yeah, commercial success.
Success, basically. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. But
I
like,
think,
yeah.
I mean, like, in terms of just general ideas and original ideas working, I think it'll always work within the niche of that market. Right? So, you know, even if metal is not the hottest thing right now, or hard rock is not the hottest thing right now, if you are a metal band, you will be loved by metal fans.
Yeah.
But in terms of commercial success, more often than not, there is still a formula. There is still standard song structure. People gravitate towards catchy melodies. So melody is king, right? It's always melody that is king. And in terms of pushing boundaries, I mean, there are a lot of pop artists. Like, now we have, you know, the latest sort of big pop musical release was Silk Sonic's album, which I haven't actually fully studied, but I know that there are a lot of good stuff in there. And they're two very musical guys, and us as musicians, you'd imagine that they could have made it far more complicated. They could have made it far more intricate, but in terms of the arrangement, you want to be understood by non-musicians.
Yeah, by the masses.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So you kind of, there is a formula where I think generally consumers have a very, very limited attention span. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because I myself can't necessarily spend a whole day listening to jazz fusion. Sometimes I want to listen to music that is just, you know, something that I can stomach for that period, like something that is light, something that is groovy, or something that is kind of mellow and jazzy, something like that. I think it really depends on the attention span. But in terms of the formula, you kind of have to simplify it a little bit. Unless you're like, I don't think we'll ever get another Stevie Wonder, right?
Yeah.
But Stevie Wonder was very much like using jazz concepts, using jazz theory, and injecting it into pop. So like as you're studying Stevie Wonder, and again, I'm getting goosebumps as I'm thinking about it, the way he would arrange it is very much like it actually, it worked for the layman ear, which is, I mean, in a way, I don't, kind of what Steely Dan did, which I don't think.
Yeah, and Billy Joel.
Right? I don't know if we. Yeah,
like,
so that's
crazy.
that was like some of the coolest pop, and I think to some degree even John Mayer was doing a lot of that, where it's like it sounds chill until you try it.
Yeah, exactly.
it's all good until you do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I don't mean this in a bad way, but like a lot of the pop because I have a lot of students where some sessions are song based, and a lot of the. I hope my students aren't watching, especially the young ones. But like there are just some that, can we study this song? And this might sound a little unkind or something like that, but you can pick it up, like us as musicians, you can pick it up in like 5 minutes because the chords don't change. The arrangements are so simple, but they do so well. So I guess that's where I'm speaking from, is the certain level of experience of what of studying for my students a lot of what is popular now. It's very, very simple, and that's what works, because us musicians, we'd love a good breakdown, a good chord change, a good a really, really solid contrasting B section, and a really tight, really odd bridge or something like that.
Yeah.
But you also want people to get it.
Yeah, to relate.
You want people to relate.
Exactly.
Right? Sometimes a lot of people don't. It's half and half, right? There's the type of person who cares more about the instrumentation, and the type of person who cares more about the lyrics.
Yeah.
So if you're a person who cares more about the lyrics, you wouldn't be like, oh man, the guitar's probably playing through a dumbbell, no? Fuck that. You wouldn't be thinking. You'd literally be thinking, oh, this lyric makes me feel like this. You wouldn't be thinking like, oh, it's probably that's probably I don't know, what's the best bass amp now? Or he's probably playing a Fedora bass na. Yeah, Fodera pala, sorry.
Fodera.
Fodera. He's probably playing, or a Rhodes or something like that. Or
holy shit.
Nord. Like, they don't care. And they're not actually the day-to-day consumer. Even, I mean, us, because we're musicians, we're weirder than other people. But most people are not going to be thinking, oh, that makes a little, no? Galing.
Yeah.
They don't care. Like, they don't care about scales or anything like that. Like,
yeah,
wala namang ganun. Like, and because it even for us as players, we don't really care about that. I mean, we know scales,
one thing.
Yeah, what's up?
I think that's kind of like a problem nowadays, because I talked with this guy. I met with this guy here, and he's like around 40s, and he's not a musician, but whenever he talks about like music, he knows what's going on, which is weird.
Oh, cool.
Like,
cool.
This guy is not a musician. He just knows a bit of theory to get by, but he's not like a purely invested musician. But whenever he listens to music, like, he knows what's going on. Like, he knows this and that. I mean, there are like certain demographics for those kinds of people, or maybe like, in terms of education, I'm not saying education, but in terms of like the music nowadays, everything is dumbed down to a certain degree. Like, if you think about it, most of the pop songs were super complicated. If you like think about it, in like, if you try to put it in practice,
super.
All of like, best example is Stevie Wonder's Overjoyed.
Yeah,
a lot of things go with that song.
Absolutely.
But when you're listening to it, you're just enjoying the lyrics. Like,
you're just enjoying the vocal melody. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, but people don't notice that when whatever they do, they're doing behind the scenes, right? But right now, everyone's just happy with the 2 chord changes, which is like odd, but it kind of works. Because same with you. Like, I also teaching someone right now, and the songs that they want to learn are just like 4 chords, and I couldn't even get mad at them, because like when I tell them like that song's like gonna repeat the same chords throughout the whole thing. You don't have to look at the chords all the time. It's like it's like the whole that's the whole part. It's just you need to learn a song that's not challenging, but you know, a bit more engaging in a way.
Yes.
Because if you're going to learn like two chords, that's fine. But like I don't know how to phrase it in a way that's not offensive in any
No, I understand. I
Right?
absolutely understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, but like, you know, sometimes what I would do is actually to give them a better understanding of what it is they're discussing, especially if the song only has, let's say, two main sections, is to break it down in terms of like, where does it belong in terms of the key center? So at least they know, even if they're just repeating the same chords, I know in my heart as a student, as the student, they know that they're playing a 1-6-2-5, for example. So that at least there's a bit more music theory. Like, that being said, kasi like, not it boils down also. One is the taste, but also the musical goal, right? Like, for a lot of musicians, like we of course, we as musicians, we like we have heroes who really some of our heroes really push the boundaries of what can be done musically.
Exactly.
And so we try to do the same. But some people want to learn the instrument just to be able to jam with their friends. Most of the people who I've taught in the last especially in the pandemic in the last 2 years are not necessarily trying to make a career out of it.
Yeah.
I can say most of them are not. They're just really fans, like, and they're enthusiasts and stuff. And so that's how you kind of like, it helps to for us to now adjust our mindset, na parang, you know, because I used to think like, even before I was teaching, like, this is how you should do it, which is really the wrong way to go about anything. It's always wrong naman to think just because this is how I did it.
Yeah,
you know, that's super
right?
wrong, right? Because the goal is different and the circumstance is super different. Like,
True.
I even if I used to practice very, very extensively, doesn't mean that it's wrong for you to do just 30 minutes a day. I think even 30 minutes a day is so great.
Yeah.
You know, like, as long as you're doing it every day. If you want to get better, syempre, practice all the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're not, you know, like, I think for us as sort of longer time musicians, we've come through a phase where it was like, I want to be the best at what I do. Just not even compete with anyone, but for yourself, you want to be the best. But not some people don't necessarily want that, and I don't even think I've wanted that for a long time anymore. I just wanted to get better because I wanted to help music continue, like help with the continuity of it altogether. Because music does a lot for us. Why don't we give back to music?
That's true.
Right. It should be more about that, right? And because that's where there's less ego also. It really is goal specific. Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah. Do you think, Pare, as time goes on and as a musician, you're growing and you're getting better, do you think it becomes an obstacle for your creativity? And like, does it like having a larger palette to work with to make music, do you think it hinders you in a way? No.
Actually, no. I think there's a quote from Guthrie Govan, who, even though I don't always listen to his music, I love his wisdom. I love his music education, and you know, he basically dumbed it down to like, you can never know too much. It's nice to be able to pick and choose. Like, I think as you're constantly expanding, I feel like you are able also to get in your way a little less. I think that the main downside possibly is that it kind of, you have more to sharpen, especially if it's a specific instrument. If you know a lot already, that means you kind of, if you really want to work hard for it, you have to polish everything about it. My timing, my phrasing, my, you know, for this genre, for this style, you constantly have to polish those. I guess that's, you could consider it a downside, or you could just see it as homework, right? So, but more than that, I think more avenues to express yourself makes you more open to all kinds of things. And like, even if, like, for example, for session work, people probably will get you for sessions. Arvin, you know this the most, because of something you've done, right? Something that, a style that you can already create. But true. Then sometimes when you're in the actual session, everything that you know is not what the song needs or not what the artist needs.
That is true.
So now the larger your palette, it's like, oh, what if I can take from this other thing that I saw recently, or that I've been studying, which is not necessarily as common. Maybe you can pull from that, and that might be like the secret ingredient or something for that song or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because sessioning is hard, man. You'd know it more than me. I've only done a little bit of it.
But you play music you don't like.
I bet.
You play music you don't like, and you play with people you don't like sometimes.
Yeah.
That's the hard part of it, man. Like, it's kind of like the duality of things in terms of being a musician is, if you want to do session work, it's like you need to be able to work with a lot of things, especially in terms of genre. Like, you being skilled enough to work with other people as well, like getting to lock in with a certain type of people, or like you need to lock with this drummer right now, but you don't know this guy.
Yeah.
Like, you need
so
to
more adaptation though.
Yeah, it's basically like adapting to like certain people. Like, you have to mold yourself in that manner. Like whenever you meet a new guitar player, a new keyboard player, you need to be like adapt to that.
You kind of have to pretend that you've known them for X amount of years already.
It's kind of psychopathic in a way.
Yeah, it is. Like, it does all. I mean, I think we're all still believers that it all kind of adds up, right? Like, I don't have that much experience in this sessioning, but I don't know, Arv, next, if you guys can agree that, like, even when you're forced to play songs or learn songs that you don't like, it does help your ear though.
It does.
You find that when you're working towards something that you are actually interested in, you're like, wow, I actually figured that out a lot faster, and it may be because of this.
That's true.
And I feel like everything adds up in terms of, like, whether it be sessioning or teaching or arranging for yourself. Especially if you're dealing with other people, you become better also at dealing with other musicians.
That's true.
Because there's that sort of natural day-to-day PR aspect of being a musician, where you can't just be sufficiently skilled. You have to be a pretty good dude also, and like that's something that I also try to tell to some of my more advanced students. Like, I don't know, personality helps, man. Like, parang just, wherever you're going, regardless of what you think of the other musicians, just treat them like really respectfully.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Respect goes a long way, man.
Actually, respect goes a long way in music and in life. Like, it really goes a long way, man.
Yeah. Like,
that stuff, that it all adds up.
Being a good musician is one thing, but also being an asshole is also one thing. Yeah. You don't want to.
That's why being.
Yeah.
It's not the only thing, right? Being a good musician is not the only thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's a good goal if your goal is like, I want to be good, right? For anyone, because everybody wants to be good.
Yeah.
Or sufficient. Everyone wants to be sufficient, right? Just like with singers, not everybody wants to be able to do a whistle voice of Mariah Carey or anything like that, but you want at least to be able to hold a tune, right?
That's the goal.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a goal. It's just different goals. It's all awesome though.
That's crazy.
Music is still awesome after all these years, and it will continue to be awesome. Even regardless of how hard it's been, and it's been hard, man.
Yeah.
The pandemic has just put us through waves of like challenges. There was a time I was thinking, like, man, what a terrible time to be a musician. But then again, it's a terrible time to be anything.
Exactly.
If you're putting up a restaurant, if you're putting up a business, like it's fair game. Not like now it's better, but there's a time it was fair game. So we all kind of had this one big hug, one big, like, everyone was like just holding each other, like, yeah, we're all suffering, man. We'll all get a drink together.
We're all the
You're
same,
not alone.
bro. We're all the same.
Yeah, you're not alone. It just, that's the kind of cool thing about it is we were strangely pretty connected in the pandemic. Yeah, I absolutely agree, man. But it's been tough. I mean, everybody knows being a musician's tough. It can be an elephant in the room. Oh, you do music. What kind of music? Or and sometimes you're kind of like, it can be an awkward.
You're a bit hesitant, no? You're a bit hesitant.
Yeah. It's not like, it's because it's not as I guess, not as conventional and stuff.
Mhm.
So it can be very challenging, especially in more conservative conversations, which is okay. Like I feel like in some sense it gives you the willingness to want to prove yourself, not in that conversation, but in everything around that conversation. You're trying to prove yourself against the things that make it awkward for you. You're awkward because success in music fluctuates, but it will force you to either give up or work closer towards that success.
Yeah. This is the this is the proving grounds. If you're gonna make it, like, I mean, not make it, but like, you need to hold on. We'll see if you held tighter, and we'll
Yeah,
see
man.
you. But hopefully, we're going to see everybody's music next year. And yeah, man.
Yeah,
I mean, sorry to cut us
hopefully, man.
everybody short, because I know there's a lot more things that we have to talk about, but we need to cut it because of the time constraints with fucking with Zoom. But yeah, but yeah, man. Thanks for the very informative, dude. This
Very
has been
insightful.
Oh,
actually.
insightful talk, Patrick.
Such a
We
pleasure.
need
Such a
more
pleasure,
of
man.
this, Patrick. We need more of this.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
I love what you guys are doing. Congrats on
Thanks,
the
Pat.
development of
Big thanks.
Tapos ang Usapan. This is awesome, man.
Dude.
So happy
Next
for you
time,
guys.
I'm trying to. We'll try to get everybody, especially Fi and Jai and Miggy,
Yeah,
all of us.
no, let's do it, man.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
We gotta do it. So,
I'm all for it.
yeah.
Congrats to you guys on the podcast, man. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And
Yeah,
for
thank
everyone's listening, we're gonna put Junoy stuff and the band stuff. Okay, I guess if you're part of that. Yeah.
If you want to check it out, please
Yeah.
do check it out. You're gonna miss
Also,
out on
yes,
life
thank
if
you.
you don't.
This is not a Freakquency sponsored episode, but yeah, check out those guys.
Check out
Pero-
Freakquency also, my God.
Pero baka naman.
They're amazing guitar. They have amazing guitars, and they're amazing people there.
They're
Yeah.
amazing
So,
people, absolutely.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
Have a good day, everybody.
Yeah, you
Yep.
guys too. Thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.